Begin kneeling, sitting on your heels with your hands resting on your thighs and your spine stacked nice and tall. Gently begin to circle the rib cage, isolating the ribs from the rest of the body. Send them forward, side, back, and side in a smooth circle. Circle 3 times in one direction and 3 times in the opposite direction. Rock forward so that you can place your hands on the floor in front of you. Place the heels of the hands together with the fingertips facing outwards and shift your weight forward so that your shoulders are over your hands. Begin to shift your weight from right to left, gently stretching one wrist and then the other. Continue to alternate this side-to-side action about 8 to 10 times. Keeping your weight forward over your hands, begin to lift one heel of the hand and then the other. Alternate this finger stretch, right and left, about 8 times. Then sit back on your heels. Then put your hands away from you so that your fingertips are pointed towards you and your palms are up. Pull the weight back to get a gentle stretch on the opposite side of your forearm and wrist. Begin to curl your fingers into a fist as tight as you can. Hold for a breath and then release. Continue to curl the hand and open the palm 4 to 6 times. As you shift your weight back, pause and pull the knuckles, pressing your weight into the hands. Then release, sitting back on your heels. Shift your weight back and place your hands behind you with your fingertips facing your body and heels of the hands away. Bend your elbows slightly. Engage your glutes and tuck your pelvis, lifting your hips slightly off of your heels so that you get a stretch in both quadricep muscles. Hold here for 3 to 5 breaths and then release. Center your shoulders over your hips and then interlace your hands and place them at the base of your skull with your elbows wide. With an inhale, lift your spine even taller. Exhale into a side bend, dropping one elbow towards the floor. Then close the elbows together, directing both shoulders towards the floor. Find this with an exhale as the ribs close. Then inhale, open the top elbow back into your side bend, and then return to center. Continue the sequence. Side bend, closing the elbows and hollowing the abdominals, opening back to your side bend, and to center. Alternating side to side 4 times. Then, resting your head in your hands, perform a puff with the chest and have a slight back bend, letting the head release into your hands and the heart to move forward. Hold here for a breath or 2. And then return back to neutral. Shift the hips to one side and swing your legs around in front of you. Hold on to your thighs and roll down through your spine until you find yourself laying on your back. Extend the legs and relax the feet. Bend your elbows at 90 degrees with your palms facing each other and your fingertips towards the ceiling. Then lift your arms above you so that your forearms are parallel to the floor and your thumbs are pointed towards your face. This is your starting position. Keeping the 90-degree angle of the arms, begin to reach your fingertips for the floor behind you. Reach as far as you can without arching the rib cage. Then bring it back to your starting position. Continue this action, activating the shoulders 8 times. Be sure that your forearms stay parallel to one another. When the arms return to their starting position, begin to open them laterally. Send the backs of your hands to the floor and open into a goalpost shape with your arms. The elbows should be in line with your shoulders and the arms are still bent at 90 degrees. Make loose fists with your hands and extend your pinky. reaching your pinky towards the floor. Trying to keep your ribs closed, draw tiny circles with your pinkies on the ground. Feel the arms moving from the shoulder blades, not just from the arms themselves. Draw 4 circles in one direction, and then 4 circles in the opposite direction, again moving from the back. Then extend your hands so that the backs of your hands are on the floor. Begin to trace from your goalpost shape to an extended line, reaching your arms overhead so that your index fingers touch. Then draw them back to your goalpost shape. Continue this action, trying to maintain contact with the floor 8 times. Then sweep the hands back down by your hips, palms down. Drag your heels in towards your sit bones, planting your feet flat on the floor. Then bring your hands to your hip bones. Using your hands for guidance, begin to tuck the pelvis, bringing your pubic bone closer to your belly button. Then, moving through a neutral spine, arch the pelvis, creating space behind your low spine. Continue to tuck and arch through the pelvis 6 to 8 times, again using your hands for help. When the pelvis is neutral, release the hands back down to the floor on either sides of your hips. Begin spinal bridging, leading from the pelvis. Tuck the pelvis underneath and begin to roll the spine up towards the ceiling. When you reach your maximum spinal bridge, continue leading from the pelvis. Arch through the low spine and lower the body, hips, then waist, then ribcage, unrolling into a neutral spine. Continue this action, waving up and waving down through your spinal bridge 4 times, finishing at the top of your spinal bridge. Keeping your hips high, begin to lift and lower your heels simultaneously. Try to maintain the height of your hips by engaging your glutes. Lift and lower the heels 8 times, and then lower down through the spine. Keeping the thighs in line with the hips, begin to lift one knee towards your chest, flexing the foot. Then place it back down. Use your abdominals and your hip flexors to squeeze the knee as close to you as possible without using your hands. Make sure the knees don't swing out towards the side, but maintain parallel. Continue to alternate right and left, pulling in towards your chest 8 times. As the leg comes in towards your chest, keep it there. Trying to maintain the height of the knee, extend the leg towards the ceiling with the foot flexed. Engage the quad to maintain a straight leg. Then, maintaining the height of the leg, circle the ankle 3 times in one direction and 3 times in the opposite direction. When the foot is flexed again, crunch your nose up towards your knee and interlace your hands behind your thigh. As you lay down, pull the leg towards you for a hamstring stretch. Hold here for 3 to 5 breaths, engaging through the quadricep. And then gently release. Place the foot flat on the floor, and then repeat on the other side. Extend the other leg towards the ceiling with the foot flexed. Engage the quad to maintain a straight leg. Then, maintaining the height of the leg, circle the ankle 3 times in one direction and 3 times in the opposite direction. When the foot is flexed again, crunch your nose up towards your knee and interlace your hands behind your thigh. As you lay down, pull the leg towards you for a hamstring stretch. Hold here for 3 to 5 breaths, engaging through the quadricep. and then gently release. Bend both knees in toward your chest, keeping the thighs glued together. Begin to circle the knees simultaneously 3 times in one direction and 3 times in the opposite direction, trying to release the fronts of the hips. Then find a tabletop position with your legs so that your shins are parallel to the floor. Flex your feet and sweep your arms out to a T shape with your palms down. Keeping the knees bent at 90 degrees, begin to open your legs to the side towards a froggy position. Open as wide as possible, and then close them back to your tabletop. Repeat this open and close 8 times. Keeping the knees bent, bring the feet to the floor. Sweep your palms up to the ceiling and place them together in a prayer position. Bring your knees to one side as the hands reach towards the opposite side for a twist. Hold here for 3 to 5 breaths, then return to center. Repeat on the opposite side. Grab onto your shins and rock yourself up to sit in a butterfly position with the soles of your feet together and knees wide. Hands can grab onto your ankles. In your butterfly shape, begin to make full body circles, bringing your ear to one shoulder, tipping sideways, rounding forward over your feet, arching to the other side, and then chest to the ceiling. Draw 3 circles in one direction, and then reverse. When you reach a neutral spine again, begin to pull on your ankles, leading heart first into a forward fold. Slide your hands forward along the floor, palms down. Hold here for 3 to 5 breaths, releasing the back of the neck and allowing your torso to relax over your legs. Shift the stretch by rocking from side to side, lifting one hip bone off the floor and then the other. Alternate rocking side to side 8 times. Then center your weight and roll back up to a neutral spine. Place your hands behind you and extend one leg forward and plant the other foot flat on the floor with the knee bent into a half pike position. Stack your spine tall, and then fold over the legs, hugging the bent knee. Keep the extended leg engaged and the foot flexed. Hold here for 3 to 5 breaths. Extend both legs and begin to flop them in and out. Big toe to the floor, then pinky toe to the floor. Allow this to be a release for the hip flexors and thighs. Quickly alternate 8 to 10 times. Place your hands behind you to extend the other leg forward and plant the other foot flat on the floor with the knee bent into a half pike position. Stack your spine tall and then fold over the legs, hugging the bent knee. Keep the extended leg engaged and the foot flexed. Hold here for 3 to 5 breaths. Extend both legs out in front of you into a pike position. Engage your thighs and flex your feet strongly. Stack your spine and reach your arms up to the ceiling alongside your ears, with your palms facing each other. Inhale to lift tall. Exhale to lengthen over your legs with a flat back. When you reach your maximum fold, curl through the spine, rolling up, head last, and then arms sweep back towards the ceiling. Continue these reverse dives, lengthening over your legs and then rolling up to vertical 4 times, finishing in your forward fold. Staying folded over your legs with your feet flexed, Begin to walk your hips backwards, shifting your weight and scooting one hip back and then the other. Crawl 4 times back and 4 times moving forward, staying in your forward fold the whole time. Bend your knees and cross your ankles. Shift up and over onto your hands and knees, or quadruped position. Stack your hips over your knees and your shoulders directly over your wrists. Keep your belly engaged to support a neutral spine. Keeping the weight of the shoulders over the hands, begin to lift and lower the heels of the hands, or the palms. Press strongly through the fingers and then control the descent of the palm. Perform this 8 times. Keeping your abdominals engaged, begin to walk down onto your forearms, placing one forearm on the ground and then the other. Then reverse, planting one hand and then the other back into your hands and knees position. Continue walking from forearms to hands 8 times, finishing on your forearms. On your forearms, begin to extend one leg behind you. Point your toes towards the floor and extend through the leg completely. Then, lift the leg as high as possible, keeping a neutral pelvis. Lower the leg with control, and then drag the knee back to where it began. Repeat on the opposite side. Continue these single leg lifts 8 times, alternating right and left. Again, keeping your abdominals engaged. Step one foot back and then the other, finding yourself in a forearm plank. Hold here for 3 to 5 breaths, feeling your rib cage close, your abdominals engage, and finding a nice neutral flat line. Then, gently lower your hips to the floor and point your toes behind you for a Sphinx pose. Find a proper Sphinx pose with your forearms parallel to one another and your palms planted. In your Sphinx, begin to create mini side bends, engaging your abdominals and squeezing your hip towards your rib, decreasing the space in your waistline. Then, switch to the other side. Continue this lateral squeeze, hip to rib, 8 times, alternating right and left. Then, keeping your arms and shoulders as they are, begin to twist the hips, lifting one hip completely off of the floor, and sweep the toes behind you, increasing the twist. Hold for a breath and then return to center and repeat on the other side, reaching the toes away from you and getting a gentle stretch through the side and your belly. Return to center and then lay yourself all the way down on the floor, reaching your arms out to the floor in front of you, palms down. Forehead stays down on the floor. Keeping your palms down, lift your arms as high as possible. Then, sweep both arms out to the sides, finding a T shape. Lower the palms down to the floor. Then reverse. Lift the arms straight up in your T shape and circle as high as possible until they come in line with your shoulders. Then, lower the palms down to the floor where you began. Continue these half circles, lifting the arms as high as possible, 4 to 6 times. When your hands reach the floor in front of you, bend your elbows wide and stack your hands, placing your forehead on top. Press both hip points and your pubic bone into the floor to maintain a neutral pelvis. Then, bend one knee behind you. Squeeze the heel toward your hips as you flex the foot. Engage the hamstring, and then release the leg back down to the floor. Repeat on the other side. Continue these single leg bends 8 times, alternating right and left. Then bend both knees so the heels come toward your sit bones. Flex the feet completely and remember to keep a neutral pelvis. Quickly begin to kick your heels toward your hips, alternating right and left. Squeeze the hamstrings as you do so, switching the legs 10 to 12 times. Then release both legs back down to the floor. Then, using your hands, push yourself up and back. Tuck your toes underneath and find a puppy pose, stacking your hips directly over your knees and bringing your chin and chest to the floor. Arms should be extended in line with your shoulders with your palms flat and arms straight. Hold here for 3 to 5 breaths, sinking your chest to the floor and opening your heart. After a few breaths, shift your hips back onto your heels. Plant your hands on the floor, and then shift your weight even further back, sending your heels down towards the ground. Begin to twist your knees from side to side, opening one thigh and then opening the other thigh, shifting the stretch in the Achilles and the feet. Continue to alternate side to side about 8 times. Then, keeping your legs as they are, walk your hands behind you. Begin to send one knee to the floor across your body, and then switch, getting a stretch across the front of the hip and thigh. Alternate this quad stretch about 8 times. Then shift your weight forward so that your knees come to the floor. Toes will remain tucked under. Then grab your strap. Hold the strap taut between your hands, slightly wider than shoulder width. You may slide the hands apart to decrease the intensity of the shoulder stretch. Begin to circle the arms around your body, maintaining the tautness of the strap. Circle 3 times in one direction, and then 3 times in the opposite direction. The goal is smooth and controlled range of motion. Be sure to maintain the space between your earlobes and your shoulders. Untuck your toes and grab your block. Place the block behind you. Then, take one foot and place the toe knuckles on the block, allowing the arch to hang off. Be sure that the weight is shifted towards your big toe, not sickling towards your pinky toe. Then, sit your hips back onto your heel, allowing the weight to increase the stretch at the front of the arch. Hold here for 3 to 5 breaths, shifting your shoulders back over your hips. Then, release the stretch. Shift the block to the other side and repeat with the other foot. Remove the block and fold forward into a child's pose. Hold here for 3 to 5 breaths, allowing your torso to release over your thighs. Shift your weight forward and then tuck your toes. Send your hips towards your heels into a squat position, and then extend through the legs fully, finding your downward dog or inverted V shape. Repeat this action. Bending the knees completely, find a tight ball or squat position. Then send your hips to the ceiling and straighten your legs into your downward dog. Continue alternating between the squat and the downward dog 4 times. Finishing with your legs straight. Walk your hands backwards towards your feet until you find yourself in a forward fold. Release the back of the neck and allow your torso to hang over your thighs. Heel-toe your feet together so that your legs, knees, and ankles are all seamed up. Then, bend your knees a lot. Make a prayer pose with your hands and touch your fingertips to the floor directly in front of you. Be sure your belly is lifted and attempt to find a flat back. Then extend through the legs, standing up, and open your arms out and up, finding a prayer pose facing the ceiling. Alternate between these 2 positions 6 to 8 times. Then bring your hands to heart center with your elbows wide. Bend your legs into the squat position with your knees and ankles pressing into one another. Rotate the torso and take the outer tricep to the opposite thigh. Press one hand into the other and look over your shoulder towards the ceiling to find a twist. Hold here for 3 to 5 breaths. Return the torso to center and then stand up completely, reaching your fingertips towards the ceiling. Separate your feet so that they are hip-width distance. Then begin to peel into a side bend, tracing one hand down your body, allowing your ear to come to your shoulder, and bending sideways. Keep one hand reaching up to the ceiling as one hand reaches towards the floor. As you reach your full side bend, bend both knees, being sure that the knees bend right over the toes. Then extend through the legs, reaching through the top fingertips. Continue to bend and extend, increasing the side bend each time, 4 times. Then, as if someone pulls your top fingertips, roll back to vertical, head is last. Repeat on the opposite side. Bring your hands to heart center with your elbows wide. Bend your legs into the squat position with your knees and ankles pressing into one another. Rotate the torso and take the outer tricep to the opposite thigh. Press one hand into the other and look over your shoulder towards the ceiling to find a twist. Hold here for 3 to 5 breaths. Return the torso to center and then stand up completely, reaching your fingertips towards the ceiling. Separate your feet so that they are hip-width distance. Then begin to peel into a side bend, tracing one hand down your body, allowing your ear to come to your shoulder, and bending sideways. Keep one hand reaching up to the ceiling as one hand reaches towards the floor. As you reach your full side bend, bend both knees, being sure that the knees bend right over the toes. Then extend through the legs, reaching through the top fingertips. Continue to bend and extend, increasing the side bend each time, 4 times. Then, as if someone pulls your top fingertips, roll back to vertical, head is last. When your hands reach prayer position again, heel-toe your feet together, so that your legs and inner ankles are seamed up. With an inhale, grow taller. With an exhale, reach your thumbs behind you and move into a slight back bend or arch. Hold here for 2 to 3 breaths, and then return back to neutral. Slide one foot back into your standing lunge with the back leg straight. Reach your prayer hands up to the ceiling. Then perform a back bend. Reach your thumbs behind you as you lift up and back, and hold here for 3 to 5 breaths. Then return to neutral. Sweep your hands down and interlace your hands behind you. Straighten the arms completely. Then begin to fold your torso over your front thigh, reaching the knuckles up for the ceiling. Continue to open the fronts of the shoulders as your torso folds and your hands reach higher. Hold here for 3 to 5 breaths. And then return your body to upright. Release the hands and place them on either side of your front foot. Lower the back knee gently to the floor and point the back toes. Draw your hands up onto your front thigh and stack your torso to vertical. Take 2 hands to your back thigh, with the fingertips pointed back towards your toes. Push with your hands to increase the opening at the front of the hip. And begin creating tiny pulses, pressing the hip down towards the floor. Pulse the hips 16 times. Then, release the hands. With your torso vertical, begin to twist toward your front leg. Take the opposite arm across the knee and look over your shoulder. Push with the front arm and pull with the back arm to increase the twist. Hold here for 3 to 5 breaths. Then, return your torso to center. Place your hands on the floor, framing your front foot. Then, shift your weight back so that your hip stacks over your back knee. Keep the foot pointed, and then fold over your front leg for a hamstring stretch. Soften your torso and bend your elbows, allowing your head to release. Be sure the quadriceps stays engaged as you fold for maximum hamstring stretch. Hold here for 3 to 5 breaths, and then come out of it. Begin to heel-toe your foot across your body so that your heel lines up with your opposite thigh. Turn the leg out, bringing the pinky toe towards the floor, and keep the foot flexed as much as possible. The quadriceps should stay engaged for maximum stretch in the outer hip and IT band. Though the leg is across your body, fold directly forward, increasing the stretch. Again, release the back of the neck to prevent excess tension. Hold here for 3 to 5 breaths, and then release. Curl your hands to the inside of the leg. Rotate the back toes so that they point directly behind you. Simultaneously, turn the front leg in, planting your foot on the floor, and finding yourself in a side kneeling position. Walk your hands up to your hips and stack your spine to vertical. Be sure that your supporting thigh is perpendicular to the floor and your hip is stacked directly over your knee. Keeping one hand on your hip, extend the opposite arm up towards the ceiling. Inhale to lift up, and with your exhale, begin to bend towards your straight leg for a side bend. Take your gaze up to the ceiling and keep your chest open. Hold here for 3 to 5 breaths, sending your hips over your front knee and your shoulders over your extended leg. Then, stack your spine back to neutral. Sit your hips back on your supporting heel. Plant your hand directly outside of your foot or ankle with your fingertips facing away from you. Engage your glutes and begin to extend through the hips, lifting your hips over your front knee. Simultaneously circle the free arm up overhead till you find a back bend. Try to square your shoulders towards the ceiling with your thumb reaching towards the floor and your head relaxing back. Hold here for 3 to 5 breaths. And then reverse the action, sitting the hips back onto your heels and centering your torso back to neutral. Walk your weight forward so that your hips are in line with your thigh and your extended leg. Then begin to slide the straight leg away from you into half of a middle split. Keep the inner seam of your pants towards the floor. Come onto your forearms to support yourself and hold for 3 to 5 breaths. Allow the hips to release as you do so. Then, with control, come back onto your hands and drag the legs together. Bend the knees and find yourself sitting on your heels in a kneeling position. Sitting on your heels, bring the heels of your hands and your forearms together with your fingertips facing away. Bring the heels of your hands to your chin and encourage your head up and back. Start to move into an arch as much as you can control. Encourage the chin to lift as you back bend, stretching the front of the throat. Hold at your peak for 3 to 5 breaths. Then return back to neutral. Shift your knees to face the opposite direction. Then step into a lunge on the opposite leg, preparing for the opposite side. Reach your prayer hands up to the ceiling. Then perform a back bend. Reach your thumbs behind you as you lift up and back, and hold here for 3 to 5 breaths. Then return to neutral. Sweep your hands down and interlace your hands behind you. Straighten the arms completely. Then begin to fold your torso over your front thigh, reaching the knuckles up for the ceiling. Continue to open the fronts of the shoulders as your torso folds and your hands reach higher. Hold here for 3 to 5 breaths and then return your body to upright. Release the hands and place them on either side of your front foot. Lower the back knee gently to the floor and point the back toes. Draw your hands up onto your front thigh and stack your torso to vertical. Take 2 hands to your back thigh, with the fingertips pointed back towards your toes. Push with your hands to increase the opening at the front of the hip, and begin creating tiny pulses, pressing the hip down towards the floor. Pulse the hips 16 times. Then, release the hands. With your torso vertical, begin to twist toward your front leg. Take the opposite arm across the knee and look over your shoulder. Push with the front arm and pull with the back arm to increase the twist. Hold here for 3 to 5 breaths. Then, return your torso to center. Place your hands on the floor, framing your front foot. Then, shift your weight back so that your hip stacks over your back knee. Keep the foot pointed, and then fold over your front leg for a hamstring stretch. Soften your torso and bend your elbows, allowing your head to release. Be sure the quadriceps stays engaged as you fold for maximum hamstring stretch. Hold here for 3 to 5 breaths, and then come out of it. Begin to heel-toe your foot across your body so that your heel lines up with your opposite thigh. Turn the leg out, bringing the pinky toe towards the floor, and keep the foot flexed as much as possible. The quadriceps should stay engaged for maximum stretch in the outer hip and IT band. Though the leg is across your body, fold directly forward, increasing the stretch. Again, release the back of the neck to prevent excess tension. Hold here for 3 to 5 breaths, and then release.